Good evening, guys. How are you doing this evening? Okay, we'll be doing ACCA SBL past paper September 2020. Okay, we'll have 3 meetings. Sorry about my hairs. Okay. We'll have 3 meetings. Today is the first meeting. In this first meeting, we'll talk about not the answers. We'll discuss the case study, how to read, and we'll talk about the question paper actually. And then in the next 2 meetings, we'll talk about the answers, like 50% first, maybe 2 requirements, and then in the third meeting, we'll be discussing the final requirement, the final meetings. Okay, so in this meeting, we'll be discussing the question paper, the case study, right? Okay, this is ACCA SBL September 2020. It's a different paper. It's a unique paper because it was not for profit organization, non-profit, charitable, I say some sort of NGOs type thing. It is easy because it's easy. It's very simple. I've seen the requirement and everything. Nothing is difficult. But it is difficult, or I say it's different compared to the other past papers or other case studies, because normally you get it for commercial organization. You get it for profit organization. So in profit organization, or maybe first of all, when you talk about the profit organization compared to non-profit organization, you have big room to play. When you're talking about the profit organization, any sort of competition, marketing, change management, stakeholder management, you have all commercial thingy in your mind and you just play. Okay, let me share my screen also at the same time. There you go. Okay, and then when you talk about non-profit, and especially when you talk about the charitable organization, they also have the competition, they have to do marketing, they have this environmental thing which influence them, the micro and macro environmental issues, they have their own stakeholders, everything they have. But they are charities. Their mission is for charitable organization. So when you write your answer, you have to be very careful. Okay, at the same time, you try to minimize your cost, maximize your revenue and all that for sustainability and for system maintenance, everything. But you'll have to maintain the charitable or objectives of the organization. That's why I'm saying it is difficult or it's different compared to other case studies, because it is non-profit charitable organization. So when you playing it, or when you providing your answer, or when you giving your suggestion, you'll need to be careful because of the charitable objective. That's one thing. Second, so normally when it's about profit versus non-profit organization, in non-profit organization, you have to be careful. Same case with product and manufacturing concern compared to the service organization. The service organization, it is different. It is, you call it difficult, different, or again, you have to be very careful compared to production manufacturing concern. So here we're talking about the service, and at the same time, it's the charity. Okay. All right. So in this meeting, we'll talk about the reading and how to tackle the case study and what is the case study all about. We'll discuss all the footnotes, the disclosures, and the requirements and everything. I have 2 screens to share. The first one, my video, to see my body language. Second is this one on which I'll be writing. And the third screen, which I'm not going to share because I don't have anything else to share. So I will be reading the case study here. Okay. So you must have your own case study or your question paper or whatsoever. Okay. So let's start with the case study, and its name of the case study is BCO. Okay, now what should be the sequence? Because you'll have 4 hours in which you have planning, praying, reading, or action plan, writing, all that you have to do. You don't have any extra time. Okay, in this 4 hours you have to do everything. So you'll need to be very, very smart reader, very efficient reader. Okay, not only a reader but a smart and efficient reader. Now what should be the sequence? You'll be asking what should be the sequence to read. Okay, so I always say start from the first page. Don't read the requirement first, because most of the people, they say, oh, we do the requirement first. We read the requirement first so that we have the direction. That's a good thing. But if you read the requirement first, which is on page number 2, 3, and 4 normally, it will be messed up, because you have no idea about what is this organization about, what's the age of the organization, what's the size of the organization, little about culture and all that. So what you do, what I suggest you do is read page number first, because on page one, you get an idea about name of the organization, you have idea about the industry, the sector, you come to know about the objective of the organization, whether it's profit or non-profit organization. Right on page one, you have idea about the governance structure. Okay, do they have a simple structure? With the governance structure, let's say they have the multi-tier board or a single board or something like that. And then you get a little idea about organization structure. Is it a bureaucracy or a simple structure? The age of the organization, the size of the organization, a little about some sort of competition, or I say the market, sometime major risk, or maybe the environment. All this, on page number one, you'll get idea about the age of the organization, the size, the governance structure, sometime the management, the age, who is the owner, simple structure, bureaucracy. You get right on page one, and plus what you call footnotes or the attachments. You also get idea about those attachments, which we'll be looking at page number 5, 6, maybe the profit and loss account, maybe the balance sheet, the board meeting, the articles, maybe any magazine, or any sort of meeting with some stakeholders. So you'll get idea on page number one. On page one, you'll have idea about so many things. Okay. Oh. Okay. So here's the problem. Let me see here. Some internet connection issue with my iPad, but we'll look at it. Okay, here you go. The attachments and all that. Okay, so this is all about page one. Now, this is my advice. You go with page one first. Then you go on page number 2. On page 2, then you'll have requirements. Okay, you give it a try. Sorry about my writing and all. Give it a try. Don't read page number 1 and just read page number 2, 3, 4. It will be all messed up, I said. You'll be all blank. You have no idea what to do. Okay. Do read page number 1 first, then go on page 1, page number 2. On page number 2, when you'll be reading the requirement, now you'll have the direction in your mind. The direction in your mind, the way to go. Because now you're looking at the requirement, and at the same time, you have this thing in your mind that you're talking about a profit organization or non-profit. They are in monopoly or in perfect competition. What's the age of the organization and size? And all these things in your mind, plus the attachments, you have some sort of future as well. And then obviously, once you're done with the requirement, along with the professional requirement as well, the commercial acumen and the analysis and all that. And then you go on one by one, the attachments, and complete your paper. Okay, and then when you'll be reading the attachments, because you're already done with the requirements, now when you're reading the board of directors meeting, or maybe the consultant meeting, or profit and loss and balance sheet, the financials, non-financial, whatsoever. So now things are coming in your mind. Yes, this was the requirement. This is the relevant point. Here is the relevant point. This point is for that requirement. This is called smart reading. This is called efficient reading. If you read the paper whole without the requirement, that's called inefficient way to do it. Okay, I'm not saying ineffective, but it's inefficient, and it's not the smart way to do it, because then again you'll need to start. Then again you'll need to start, go again. Okay, that's the thing. Okay, let's start on page 1, and the case study, that's the BCO. I have my question paper. You need to have yours. Okay, the Bloom Conservation Organization, BCO, is a not-for-profit charitable organization. See page 1. Line 1, it says all about not-for-profit. You have this in your mind when you're sitting in the examination, and it's a charitable organization. Why? It tells you the mission: set up to protect endangered wildlife around the world. It's not about the poverty, it's not about education, it's about nothing. It's about the wildlife. They're protecting the wildlife. It was founded 50 years ago, tells you the age of the organization. And you know, when you have the age of the organization, you get an idea about the culture of the organization, how strong the paradigm and how strong the culture of this organization is, because it's not 5 years or 5 months, a 50 years old baby. 50 years ago by Dana, okay, a wealthy entrepreneur with a passion for wildlife protection, okay. So the mission, the organization is all started by a single person, Dana, and it's because of the passion and because obviously with the wealth too. She set up the BCO Wildlife Park in her home country of Gilan, okay, and since it was founded, the wildlife park was provided intensive hands-on management of some of the world's most threatened animals. Okay, we got it, that's the mission. In the wildlife park, animals breed and increase in number, while the keepers and wildlife experts study them to learn more about them, what they need to thrive in wild again before releasing them. Okay, that's fine. The BCO also operates 20 in the field animal protection programs. That's fine, that's their complementary thing. That is animal welfare and management activities occurring in the animal's natural habitats in 15 countries worldwide. But their major thing is in their own country, which is discussed. The BCO employs teams of locally based wildlife experts and volunteers also, not only employees but volunteers, to manage and protect some of the most endangered animals in the world. Okay, much of the BCO's income, now they're talking about the income, how they earn. Although she is and she was wealthy, but obviously they need some sort of income. Income comes from donations from the public and from corporate donors. The BCO also generate income from legacies, which are donation left when people die. Okay, most of the people, even here in US, when people die, some people, they give legacies to their dogs as well. Okay, this, my whole property is for the dog or for the dog welfare. So now here what people do. Yeland, as with many other developed economies around the world, okay, one more thing, it's a developed economy, because normally underdeveloped nation, they already have their own critiques regarding the economies and all that, but this is all talking about the developed economies around the world. So Giland is one of the developed economies, has suffered from economic recession. Now that's the point, and we'll be discussing in the answer as well, that when the recession comes, obviously people have to satisfy their own basic needs, their own shelter, their own food and all this stuff. Their jobs are going, the businesses are going down. Who cares about other stakeholders, and who cares? That's a normal practice. Who cares about giving donations and all that? First of all, you have to donate your family. So that's the thing. Okay, keep this thing in mind when you're writing the answer. So from an economic recession for several years, and they're saying it's a developed economy. So when recession hits, normally it hits the big giant economies. Okay, for several years, and many charitable organizations have struggled. That's the thing, and struggle to survive in such difficult economic times. And why they do it, I just told you. However, the BCO has managed to maintain its position as a world leading charity in the wildlife protection by implementing programs of cost cutting, that's a good strategy, rationalization, and more targeted and active, okay, whatsoever. The BCO has also board of trustees. Now they're talking about the governance structure. The BCO has a board of trustees which oversees the management of the charity. Okay, so it means they have board of trustees which oversees the management of charity, which is undertaken on a day-to-day basis by the management board. It means when we discussing in our classes, when we discuss corporate governance, sometimes there is a single board, the only board of directors, they take care of the management and at the same time supervision. But now here there is a two-tier board, multi-tier board. There is one board of trustees, and then you'll have this management board. Okay, so what it does on a day-to-day basis by management board. Dana, the founder, who is now over 80 years old, keep this thing in mind, 80 years old lady, okay, has very recently stepped down from her role as chairperson and now a new chairperson. Now that's called change management in the case study. So the new chairperson, Rani Jeffel has just been appointed. Rani Jeffels has a strong commercial background, not a profit, not a non-profit charitable background. What she has, this what do you call, the commercial background, okay, having previously been a chief executive of several of Giland's leading corporation. You work as a senior finance manager. Okay, now your role is defined on page 1. Your role is all. Look at the importance of page 1. You're talking about the governance, the age, the size of the organization, who was the founder, what they do, mission, and all that on just page 1. It's clearing in your mind. Okay, now you work as, and what is your role? throughout the case study, all those 10 pages, 10,000 words, you work as a finance manager, a senior finance manager of the BCO. It is currently September 21. Okay, the following exhibits. Now, what are the attachments you'll be having in on page number 5, 6, and all that? Okay, extract from the BCO's annual report. Okay, we'll have the annual report. Will tell us about the mission, vision, objectives, and all that. Okay, financial year ending 30th April. Okay, in the attachment 2, it's about us page of the BCO website. The website page set out the leadership structure and governance. Okay, who is the chairman, who is the CEO, what are the executive directors, and all their backgrounds. Okay, and then normally you have seen the annual report. I'm not talking about the financial statement. On the annual report, when you see annual report, tells you mission and vision. If you are a shareholder of any company, every year you get the annual report and you see all these things, the background of the chairman and the CEO and all that. And then attachment 3, BCO's financial activities and KPIs. Fine, already a finance people. And then on exhibit 4, charity sector research report, a recent research article detailing the main threats and opportunities facing the charity sector. It's not only about BCO, it will be about the whole charity industry, charity sector. What are the threats and opportunities they have, okay, right now. And then on attachment 5, the BCO's risk register, what sort of risk they're facing and their impacts and all that, and how to manage it. Okay, and then on attachment 6, you'll have one more article on charity leadership. It's not about BCO, it's about the whole, once again, about the whole charity structure. A news article on the recent bad publicity, major risk, bad publicity surrounding leadership issues in the charity sector. No worries. Okay, let's move on. So that was chapter number 1, although it says chapter number, that was page number 1. It says page number 2 because on page 1 you say ACCA SBL and all that. Now comes on the requirement. What is the requirement? Requirement 1, the new chairperson, Jenny Raffles, has recently commented. Okay, that's a change management, I just told you. And when you have a new chairperson, when you have a new CEO, new skills, new style, new system, everything is new now. When you have it's not only about the departmental manager or the supervisor. If the new supervisor comes, the whole team system is changed. If the new departmental manager is affecting the department, well, when the new CEO is there, it's affect the overall everything. So now the new chairperson, okay, whatsoever, he has called. Oh, I thought Rani is the name of lady. Okay, he has called. That's a change. The previous Dana, she was a chairwoman, chair lady, and now change in gender. He has called a meeting with the management board and has asked for each board member to make a short presentation to assist him in better understanding of the BCO. Okay, the chief financial officer, CFO, has asked you, because you are the finance guy, has asked you to present on the BCO's governance principle and activity and its financial, non-financial performance in the latest financial year. What he's asking you to do, required, prepare a briefing note for the CFO which explain, number 1, the specific nature of the principal-agent relationship of the BCO as a charitable organization, like who is the principal, who is the agent in this BCO. It's not only a knowledge-based question, it's about the BCO, who is the principal agent, and what are the responsibility and relationship they have in this charitable BCO. The advantages for the BCO of having a 2-tier board. It means you'll have to keep in this mind that you have one is called a single board and second called multi-tier board. On page 1, we already seen that they have multi-tier board. Now they're asking you to provide the advantages. It means the disadvantages if they would have a single board. So you're talking about the 2-tier board. If they have a 2-tier board, the first one is the supervisory board and second is the management board. What are the advantages BCO has to have this thing? And the third one is how the BCO's mission and strategic objectives meet its key stakeholders need. It means very soon in the attachments we'll be having its mission and the strategic objectives as well. So when we'll be looking at the attachments, we'll come to know about all this, that how the BCO's mission and strategic objectives is going to satisfy the stakeholders, not the shareholder, stakeholders needs. Okay, now this time they're providing you professional marks for demonstrating commercial acumen. Like when you're writing all those notes, keep this in mind, a good business sense, commercial acumen. Okay, now requirement 1B, analyze the financial and non-financial performance of the BCO in the financial. This is very, very easy question, I say, because you already done with F9 and financial management and all that. Every time you talk about, you have the annual report or the financial statement, and you have to look at it, the comparison between 2000 and 2001, 2010, 2011, comparison, financials, how the incomes are, ups and down, what are the reasons. It's just like interpretation of financial statement. It's like ratio. It's, I say, cash marks. Fully cash marks. Financial and non-financial indicator, we'll look at the attachments. Now this time, definitely they'll providing you the professional marks for analysis skills. Okay, yeah, you gathering the information and making some logical connections. Okay, let's look here. Requirement 2. Let me switch on the light scale. Okay. All right, and then in requirement 2, in its recent published annual report. So it means on requirement, let me write here, on requirement 1, it was financial and non-financial thing, and plus in requirement 1, it's talking about the mission, strategic objectives, and how they covering up stakeholders' needs, plus principal agent relationship, and then about CG, corporate governance, 2-tier board. This was all about requirement 1. Okay, let me see myself. Sorry about that. See, this is requirement 1. It's talking about the financial, non-financial evaluation, mission and strategic objectives of BCO, how it's satisfying the stakeholder need, principal and agency relationship. Very simple, pretty easy question. And corporate governance, 2-tier board, positivity, advantages, not disadvantages, just the advantages. Now we're moving to requirement 2. In its recently published annual report, we already have this attachment. The BCO set out 3 strategic objectives. I just said the previous that they will definitely providing you the mission and the strategic objectives. Set out the 3 strategic objectives for the next 5 years. Like these are the strategic objectives and we'll be achieving in the next 5 years. The new chairperson is keen to understand in more detail how the BCO's external environment will impact on these strategic objectives. That's the case. When new guy comes in, you look at the previous guy, because that was the interim CFO or interim chairperson. They set all the mission statement and the objectives and the culture and how they're doing it and the team and the overall organization. But now this guy comes in, he's saying, okay, we have these strategic objectives, how the external environment, like your political, economical and all that, you already have set the objectives. Explain me how the external environment, because organization is an open system, how the external environment is going to impact, whether positive or negative both. Don't think it's always the negative thing. BCO's external environment will impact on these strategic objectives, and as the CFO, once again, asking the CFO to provide him with this information. I'm not looking at the requirements, I'm telling you. The CFO is going to tell you that you do it. The CFO is asked for your assistance in preparing this report. That's why you're getting the salary. Sorry about that, you're a student, okay? But you are a finance manager. Now, requirement A, what is the requirement? Prepare a report for the CFO. Not for the chairperson, for the CFO, which evaluates the extent to which the external environment could impact on the BCO strategic objective. Pretty simple question. Once again, the environmental models. Obviously, in SBL, when we used to have P3, the examiner specifically used to ask you like apply Porter's 5 forces or Pascal or Porter Diamond or whatsoever. But here, he's not going to ask you any model, but still you apply model. Why? To make your answer systematic. Okay. You apply model. Now, what is the requirement 2? Requirement 2, they are asking about, because organization is an open system, we all know. Yeah? The environment actually influence, positive or negative, it influences the organization because we have the permeable boundary. Okay. So now, what is the report? The report is about for the CFO, which evaluates the extent to which the external environment could impact. It's not said it's going to disturb, could impact. Maybe supporting, positive or negative, whatever the impact is of the external environment. It could be the major model normally we apply is the person. And I'm telling you, if you don't apply the model, the examiner is not going to cut your marks because it never said that you apply the model. but you still do because to make your answer more systematic. For example, let's say when we'll be doing the answer, I'm not doing it right now. Let's say you put the heading political, then you write all the political point, making it more systematic. Then you write the economical thing and all that, and then the social and get you. The professional skill marks are available for demonstrating evaluation skills. Okay, evaluation, because now at the end you will be providing some sort of, at every paragraph you'll be providing some sort of conclusion as well. So what you're doing, you're actually gathering the information, connecting, make connections, and then at the end you'll be providing some sort of conclusion. Evaluation skill in objectively appraising the facts. The facts which are available, let's say the economical environment, the recession thing, let's say the political environment, the social environment, whatever the facts are available and how they gonna affect your strategic objective, your organization's strategic objectives, opinions and findings relating to the BCO's external environment. Okay, when you're doing the case study, don't forget to connect it. Try to use, don't use the term organization, try to use the term BCO. Okay, don't use company or organization, all that, or charity. Use the term BCO, use the term DENA if you're talking about the founder, use their manager's name or director's name or the chairperson name. That's you actually linking up, okay, with in your answer with the case study. Now, so this is question number 2A. Now, this is not a difficult question. That's why in the beginning I said it's an easy question. Why it's an easy case study? Because it's easy. And why it's difficult, I just told you the reason. It is difficult because of its nature, because of its industry and all that. Now, in addition to the recent investment made in updating the members database management, okay. This is one of the examiner's favorite area these days. Every time they talk about e-business, e-commerce, CRM, like this, database management system, social media, website development, all that. Every time you see this thing, database management system, the chief executive officer highlighted in the annual report that the BCO is looking for further opportunities to invest in e-business technology. The CFO has been asked to make a presentation to the board of trustees, and he has asked for your assistance. Once again, you are the guy in preparing his presentation. Now, what is the presentation? Prepare 3 presentation slides. Okay. Now, this is every time examiner asks this way. You have to provide the slide, okay? And in slide, you just give, like I say, it's a quick thing, just quick, like 1, 2, 3, and then you elaborate in your attachments, in your notes, okay? So see, prepare 3 presentation slide with accompanying notes. So in slides, what you do, 1, 2, 3, just maybe it's like a dashboard thing, okay? And then in detail, if somebody wants to go in detail, sometimes the chairperson of the board or CFO, they don't have time to go in detail. What they do, they just look at the dashboard, and that's why you do the dashboard reporting thing. Okay, so prepare 3 presentation slide with accompanying notes, which recommend with clear justification. Like you have to justify your arguments, whatever the arguments you're providing of this e-business thing, you have to justify it, like with persuasive arguments, with clear justification. 3 application of information technology that the BCO could use to enhance its e-business capabilities. Okay, 3 applications of information technology must be providing in the attachments. Okay, like what is their plan right now? Professional skills, definitely it should be communication, because when they're saying you have to persuade, okay, it means they're looking at your communication skill, like your flow of sentence, the vocabulary you use, the jargons you use, the logics, or very important is the ability to influence, the ability to persuade. Like when you were young, when you were a kid, and you actually used to ask your parents and how you used to influence them about the pocket money. Okay, and you're talking about the inflation and talking about your other friends and your traveling and your school inflation and cafeteria and all that. How you used to give so many arguments to, or sometime when you going for a relationship or something, and then again you'll need to go to your parents to ask them, and then once again you come up with so many logical and persuasive arguments. That's the thing. So here again you have to come up with this, that we're going to invest in this e-business thing and e-technology and all that, e-commerce and all, and now you coming up with the logical arguments that this is my argument, and then again I'm persuading with this thing, supporting with this persuasive thing. All this will give you professional marks, not the technical marks. Okay, so that is it. Then comes requirement 3. The chairperson is asked to meet with the chief executive officer to discuss the BCO's current risk management approach. Same case, same thing. The previous person has their own risk register, their own risk management committee, all that risk mitigation activities, impacts and all, they have their own risk register. Now, here what happens, the chairperson is concerned that the current risk register does not adequately evaluate the seriousness of the risk. See, but your CEO, the CEO disagrees and thinks that the risk register and its risk mitigation activities are sufficient. It's fine. See, there is a conflict now between the chairperson, the new guy, and the existing CEO, because the previous chairperson is gone. The new chairperson is saying that your risk register, I'm not comfortable with it. We need to do something more. The existing CEO, because you have not replaced the CEO, the existing CEO is actually the owner, who's actually the risk manager, I say. He's saying, no, we are good with it. Now, she has asked for your assistance. What is the assistance? Prepare a confidential report which evaluates the BCO's current risk register and the adequacy of each of the risk mitigating activities. Clearly highlight whether the chairperson concerns are justified. Okay. Now you have to be already done with your F8 and audit and P7, all these things. And you remember that skill, what do you call, skepticism. Okay, you look at the risk, you look at the impact and whatever the management is saying, but you don't trust blindly. I'm not saying you call them dishonest or honest, but you do it with your critical mind. That's the thing, and that's why they're providing you professional marks here. Professional skill marks are available for demonstrating skepticism skill. See, once again, I'm reading the requirement saying prepare a confidential report. Obviously, it's not for the external people and all. Your CEO has asked you that the chairperson is overreacting on the BCO's latest financial result. She has asked for your assistance. Okay. Prepare a confidential report which evaluates the BCO's current risk register. Like you already have the risk register, which must be in the attachments. We'll be having those attachments, okay? Current risk register and the adequacy of each of the risk mitigating activities. Not only you'll be looking at the risk, but you'll be looking at its impact and the risk management response activities, like the TARA framework. And then you have to clearly highlight by evaluating the risk and their activities that whether the chairperson concerns are justified or not. Like you have to be neutral, but at the same time, you can't blindly trust on the current risk register, okay? Because here the chairperson disagree with your risk register, but your CEO, who is actually the risk manager and who is actually the owner of all these things, is saying, no, we are fine. So you have to look at both the side, right? Okay, now requirement 4, which is the last requirement. Soon after you completed your report on the BCO's risk register and risk mitigation activities, you attended a meeting with the CEO and the CFO. At the meeting, the CEO raised her concern that the board of trustees does not have sufficient mix of skills. Okay, we'll have one attachment. We'll see in about us. Who are the board of directors and board of trustees and what are their ages and their background and all that. Mix of skills and diversity and the management board had in the recent past not undertaken sufficient professional development. Okay, she has requested a meeting with the chairperson, the new guy, to discuss the issues further. The CEO has asked for your assistance in preparing for this meeting. Okay, they'll have a meeting later on, but you'll have to provide the notes. Prepare a briefing paper for the CEO which explain the importance of the BCO's board of trustees to have sufficient mix of skills and diversity. Absolutely, it should be like a fruit salad. Okay, when you're talking about the board, if people are from the same background, there is no need to have 10-15 people. Then it's better you have just one guy. Okay, we need some sort of conflicting, a healthy conflicting, and for that what we need to have people from different backgrounds, so they come up with their own different experiences, different knowledge, and they question each other, they argue with each other, healthy arguments. So we need mix of the skills, and obviously the diversity in terms of age, in terms of culture, in terms of race, in terms of gender, in terms of qualification, background, and all that. We need this type of variety. Okay, that's why I said it's fruit salads type thing. The importance of continuity professional development, and not only you hire good people, but at the same time you need to have CPD, continuing professional training, and all that board management board members to ensure that the BCO meets its obligation to its stakeholder. See, the stakeholders and the shareholders and the donors and your employees, they all trust on the board. Okay, because the board of directors, they're actually the captain of the ship. So everybody, all the stakeholders, the supplier, the customer, they're looking at you. So it's not only about you hire people, good people in the board, but at the same time, the regular training is important. It's like your smartphone. It's not like that. It's not like that once you charge the phone and once it's a new phone, it's done. Now every time it requires a regular charge. So once you are elected or selected and sitting in the board in the big ship, it's not that you're done. Every month, quarterly, 6 month, or whatever the organization policy, you require training. That's called CPD program, continuing professional development, because the environment is changing, the demands are changing, the things are changing, and when it's changing, organization is an open system and you are the big responsible people. Okay, now whatever you do, keep business sense in your mind, and that's why they will be providing you the commercial acumen skills. Okay, demonstrating commercial acumen skill in showing awareness of the organization, all that. All right, I won't take much time now. Let's go for the attachments. Now you see, let me see myself. Okay, that's fine. Now you see page 1 and then the requirement. So at the end of the requirement, we just done with the requirement. See, so many things are clear in your mind. So many things are clear in your mind. And now you are ready to go for the big area, which will take maximum of your time with the attachments. So, okay. So if you don't read the requirement of the page number 1, or maybe if you're not effective on those first 2 things, just imagine you'll be wasting your time. Or maybe I say you're not only wasting your time, you're just making it more inefficient. But now when you're done with the requirements in the page 1, when you go on attachments, you'll be more smart. Or I say you're more prepared to grab the points, okay? Because you have the requirements in your mind. Now let's look here. The attachment, the exhibit 1. Exhibit 1, what it says. It tells you about the mission, and you know what is mission, what the organization does. Normally one-liner. The mission, protecting and conserving our wildlife for future generation. Very good. Telling you about the vision, our aim. But very important is the strategic objectives, because in the requirement, I think in 2 requirements they talk about those strategic objectives. In one of the requirements says how this mission statement and strategic objectives, it's going to satisfy these stakeholder needs. Like maybe sometime people are so full, they make strategic objectives in this direction, whereas the stakeholders demanding on their direction. That's called dysfunctional behavior. Okay, so in requirement 1, it's asking whether the mission and the strategic objectives are aligned with stakeholder needs and how they're going to meet. In the second requirement, it talks about how these strategic objectives are going to affect by the external environment. Okay, see, so our strategic objectives, now these 3 strategic objectives, the first one they have for the next 5 years, ensure that 100 threatened species are protected and returned to their natural habitat. Okay, 100. Invest in 100 wildlife habitat project across the world through providing training and education for local staff, volunteers, and the committee. Okay, so 100 species and return to them, and 100 training and development program across the world. Okay, habitat projects, and then ensure 1 million people like you and me, okay, a common person, ensure 1 million people are better connected with nature in any way through education, awareness of the natural world they live in. Okay, at least people have idea about the ecological environment, some sort. So this is like 10, 100,000, 1 million people. So 100, 100, and 1 million. Now they have this review of 21. Our financial position continues to be challenging. Operating a world-class wildlife park and a global animal production program is costly. Okay, they're talking about their income thing. This year we reluctantly raised the price of admission. Okay, keep this in mind. that they have increased the admission fee. When people come in their park, okay, admission fee. It's not about the donation. That's the fee. That's the revenue they charge. This decision was taken with a view to using, okay, no worries. Then income from legacies was down on 2010, a continuing trend on the past few years, highlighting the volatile nature of reliance on legacy income. We sold one of our properties. Keep this in mind. They sold their properties. It means in the financial statement, you'll be seeing in the cash flow and in the income statement, you'll be seeing the inflow. Okay. And then people fund the exhibition of visitor center, which okay. We were also successful in securing over $2 million in grant funded donation. It means they have their hands are on, you know, public sector pocket as well. This is a significant source of income for the BCO, and be grateful to those organizations. Okay. A huge amount of work over the year went into updating our members database management system. We have one of the requirements about the database management system and the website and e-business. Let's read this, which will be in place in 22 and allow us to communicate more effectively with members and permit online fee payments. Further investment in information technology is a key to our growth in coming years in our drive to streamline our business and to educate and communicate more effectively with our stakeholders. We'll be launching a redesigned website in 22 and are looking for new opportunities to use e-business technologies more effectively in areas such as, number one, online education, digital marketing, and social media. And we have this requirement also, okay? It is with great sadness that we said goodbye to Dana, okay, the founder. We discussed in the first thing, okay? You can read it. I don't want to take your time. Now, in the attachment 2, it's about, this is about us page. Now, here they're talking about their own organization structure and the board structure and all that. Okay, board, they have 2-tier board. One is the board of trustees, and second is what do you call the management board, okay? The board of trustees, the governance of the BCO is vested in our board of trustees, which has overall control of the charity, and obviously this is called the supervisory board as well. And they look at the management board. And then they're telling you about the composition, not only the board of trustees function, but board of trustee members. Who is the member? The first one is the chairperson. It's not the CEO, it's the chairperson. It's the new chairperson, Rani Jeffel, 61 years old. Look at the background, master's degree in economics and all that. And obviously, we just said background is commercial, okay? This because he was the CEO previously of any food industry or something. Then Dr. Boris Tilly, 68 years, okay, near to 70. Dr. Tilly has been a trustee of BCO for 12 years, and he has had a lifelong passion for animal production and all that. He has doctorate in literature. Then Mavis, 73 years, oh my God. This is as the board for 11 years and is a lifelong friend of Dana, the founder. Maybe she brought this, okay, this guy, okay, and animal production. She has a degree in fine art, okay. Then Sir Henry Riley. Sir Henry has been a trustee for the BCO for 14 years and is strong commercial. Once again, a commercial background, having worked in the financial service and all that, okay. And then Dr. Hardy, 48, okay, young guy. Dr. Khan has a master degree in animal production, science, relevant expertise, worked in many of the most important industries. Okay, he's joined the board 3 years ago, just 3 years, okay. And they were all 11, 12, and 13. Stella Bond, Mrs. Bond has been a trustee for the BCO 8 years and has a commercial experience, once again, retail sale. And then management board. This is the management board, a highly experienced and dedicated management board, okay. So here is the CEO. So there are 2 boards. One is the board of trustees and their composition and their background, and this is the management board, the CFO, the head of human resource, the head of fundraising, the head of commercial operation, head of animal production. Here is the spelling mistake in the examination by ACCA. Head of animal production should be HEAD, not HAD. Okay. We can talk to ACCA. All right, let's move on. The attachment 3, this is very simple. It's about, because you are a finance guy, your background is finance. By nature, you are a finance guy, okay? By default, you are CFO. By default, you are finance people. So look at their 2001 and 2000. So on this side, on the right-hand side, you see the previous year. Don't confuse this. This is the previous and that's the latest. No, that's the previous one, and this is current latest, 21. Wildlife park admission fees, individual and corporate. We'll be discussing when we'll be discussing the answer. We'll see how it's going to change and what are the reason. Okay, you're not working in an isolation. It's not only about the financial statement attachment. When you providing your answer, especially for this requirement, so you'll have this mission and the strategic objectives and the requirements and page number 1 and all the attachment. It is not you working in an isolation. We need to work with integration. Okay, so see, this thing is going up. Why? What's the reason? And what do you think? It's all subjective, and you have to do financial and non-financial as well. So see, education programs, how much dollar they're spending, whether it's going down or what. Wildlife park, shop and cafe donation. They had a sale of property 525. Okay, 525,000. And then there are the expenditures, maybe on training and animal support and some sort of commercial activities and total expenditure. And what is the net income you see from 658 to 236? And these are some non-financial indicators: numbers of paid staff, volunteers, and then you see the key performance, the KPIs, number of visitors, they dropped, income per visitor, average training cost per staff training day, number of external education training program run in 2000 and 2001, number of animals returned to the natural habitat. Okay, all these things we'll discuss. Now, attachment 4. This article is not for BCO, it is for the whole industry. It's for the whole sector actually. Now, a recent charity sector research article detailing the main threats and opportunities facing the charity sector, overall charity sector, whether it's for the poor people, for the homeless, for the education thing, for underprivileged, whether it's for wildlife or what. Okay, and it's written by professor, someone in any magazine article, the Global Charities Institute. And this, they're talking about the positive and negative, the threats and opportunities the charity sector. The number of events and changes have happened in the last couple of years. Okay, this thing is also important for that pastel model, for the environmental model, and for our strategic objective as well. Since the global recession over decades ago, many come. Okay, we know that. Linked to this is the general financial position of the charities. Many charities have for too long been over reliant on a small number of, that's the thing. See, there is the problem with the charities. Let's say you are a landlord, you're giving your place, you're giving your space to any NGO. What is the big risk you have? The big risk is their uncertainty of income. Let's say you're an employee, you already work in a commercial organization or public or private organization or a company which is already listed on stock exchange something, but now you got a good offer from NGO. What is your risk? Your risk is their uncertainty of income. If their income is uncertain, if they don't get income next year, obviously you'll be the first guy to go out. Okay, that's the thing. If you're a supplier, what is your major risk with NGOs? Once again, uncertainty of income. If their income is uncertain, if they don't get any income, you'll be out of business. So that's the thing. Okay. However, the public expectation of the work done by charities are still high. This is what's going on. In SBL paper, you always see the real life thing. That's why you not only write about the book thing. I always say, book is just 10-15% for your success or to get a pass in the examination. It's all about your experience and your own commercial acumen and what you know about the industry. So you see, the fundings are going down. That's what the real thing is going on. And at the same time, the expectation is going up. People have so many expectations. Just like we blame on government, same thing we blame on NGOs and charities as well. That what NGOs are doing it, what charities are doing. When you see people are homeless, you say there's so many NGOs, what they're doing. Okay, when you're driving, when you're single, you see some beggars coming. What are NGOs and charities going on? First you say what government is doing, and second you say what are the charities. And then when you look at the wildlife thing, you look at irresponsible activities of people, when you see people not getting the education and all that, you see child labor. Every time people, a common person, their expectation and their demands from the charities are high, because there's so many charities you see all over, from underdeveloped to developed nation. Everywhere nowadays we have charities and all that coming on media, social media, asking donation, all that. So this paragraph is all that. And then some of the decrease in charitable funding has been caused by donor fatigue. Oh yes, you get a lot of emails. People are frustrated these days. Every time you get an email on social media, very important. Let me tell you, maybe you must have this experience. I have seen so many times. When you go on the supermarket or departmental store for shopping or something, you're done with your card, you fill up everything, you go on the cash counter. When you go on the cash counter, you swipe your credit card, it asks you. Normally, they have this box that you put in the name of the charity and all that. Otherwise, when you swipe your card, it says, how about you fund $1 and all that? People are fed up with this. And sometimes there is one option, yes or no. Sometimes $1, $5, $10. And mistakenly, people do this. And then they say, oh, we never wanted to do that. And when they look at the credit card statement on the receipt, so this is like, why are they asking? Why so many emails? Every day you get so many emails about the funding and all that. So that's the thing. Some of the decrease in funding is because of their process and it's because of their style of asking. You see, nowadays there's so many legal legislation and acts also, they are not allowed to do like this street funding, that everywhere in the bus stop, on the let's say on the in the parking lots, or sometimes they come right on your at your house and they ask you, then how about if you pay this donation, all these things. So see, it says have been accused of hard selling. They are actually hard selling their services. They are so harsh when they're asking the donation every time. Like they're coming at your house when you go on shopping. Again, you see. So let's say in a day, you see 3, 4, 5 times on your social media and everywhere, how about you donate and donate and all that. And then in the last paragraph right here, it says a younger generation of donors has also been brought up, obviously, at time of recession and at time of all that. And especially they have seen all this commercial thing. And they are not brought up this way, especially this time, they are not brought up, they have seen challenges. They have seen their parents and their families, economic challenge, financial challenge. So they're brought up in such a way that they're not trained to do all these donations and all that. It's not that time. When you have healthy financial background, healthy financial things are going on, good economic policies and all that, and the whole world is fine, then okay, when you are brought up, you learn all these things and then you do all that. But nowadays it says a younger generation of donors has also been brought up at a time of austerity and is less likely to donate to charitable causes. Some charities have recognized the younger generation as a potential source of donation and have used new forms of technology and all that. And most of the time, like they are used with the gaming and the technology and their electronic gadgets and all that. They don't worry about this poor or wildlife and natural habitats or climate change and all these things. Okay, so okay, read this article and then we'll do it. And then in Exhibit 5, this is all about the risk register. We have this requirement that you need to look at it and look at it with your professional skepticism. See what are the risks they have. The first one, so many times I said, fundraising pressure. Income, uncertainty of income. And you know the impact of that and what are the risk mitigating activities they have. Loss of key staff. And if you look at those KPIs, their volunteers are up, but their employees are going down. Why? Why this BCO is not looking like a good and attractive employer or an attractive place to work in. Okay. And what is the impact once you lose the staff, once you lose the trained staff? And then what is the third risk? Increased competition in the sector. Before I start this case study, what did I say? That it's not only in profit organization that you have the marketing and competition and all that pressure. In non-profit organization also you have this cost cutting and competition and environmental, and there's so many pressure. So they have this one big risk, increased competition in the sector. All right. Then operating in dangerous location around the world. This is something new they talk about. Staff volunteers injured or killed, carrying out their responsibilities, okay, because they're dealing with natural wildlife and all that, or maybe due to some areas or location like that. So what are the risk mitigating activities and all that? The risk committee is chaired by the BCO's chairperson, the name, the new guy, the same chairperson who's the board and the chairperson, and there's two other board of trustees member. The committee meets once a year to review the risk register and the activities being undertaken by the BCO. Okay, we'll do this when we'll be doing the answer. Just imagine the chairperson who is the non-executive guy. It's not the CEO, the chairperson, who is the non-executive guy. Along with the board of trustees, who are also non-executive guy, no one from the management board. No one from the management board is there to look at the risk, and they meet once in a year. Okay. 2 other board of trustees member. It does not say management board. Board of trustees member and the chairman. All are non-executive people there. Anyway, the last attachment, a news article. Once again, one more article, and that's not about the BCO. It's again for the whole charity structure. A news article on the recent bad publicity surrounding leadership issues in the charity sector. That's also a major issue this time. Why? Most of the time when we look at the infrastructure, the traffic, or any sort of bad thing, what do? You blame on government. Why? Because you pay tax. So every time you say, especially in underdeveloped nation, or especially when the government has some sort of bad experience of this corruption and all that. So what do you do when you're driving? The government is corrupt. Every time people say the government is corrupt, because here we see bad system and all that. If you see any decline in education, increase in crime, traffic and all that, any mismanagement, you blame on government. And also you blame on NGOs leadership as well. Leadership. When you look at the ministers, when you look at the presidents and prime ministers, and when you look at the lifestyle, what do? This is all our tax money. And when you look at NGOs, board of trustees and their leaders and all that, and suddenly they are in big 4-wheel and big trucks and big cars and the lavish lifestyle and big houses and big offices and all. Once again, you say, for the government, you say they're misusing our tax money. For the NGOs, you say that they are misusing your donations. And their leaders and their board of directors and the board of trustees, they're actually draining the money. You give it for the cause, and they're actually enjoying their own salaries and their own lavish cars and lifestyle and all that. This is going on all over the world, and people are now aware of it. And they obviously they talk about this governance structure, they talk about the leadership, they talk about actually the controls, the overall control of the organization, that how our funds are used, how our funds are actually spent on the charity, the cause of the charity for which we actually cause and we actually value for that, and how the leaders are controlled, the overall corporate thing. So this charity is under increasing pressure to improve sector. Okay, are charity leaders out of touch? Research for the Gillan Charity Commission has found that people are increasingly concerned about how charities spend their money and how they are managed and how they are led. Who leads them? Are they non-executive? Are they executive? Are they trained? They're not corrupt. The main reason given for trusting charities less cited by over 1/3 of people questioned was negative media coverage, stories, so many collapses, so many corruptions, so many donations, so many backdoor thingies, so many how they're cooking their books, their inappropriate policies, and their not true financial statements and all. Collapse of 2 major health charities. Amid allegation of financial mismanagement. See, when you have poor governance, when you don't have good financial things, when you have poor governance, when you have not good structure, when you have poor governance, when you have, I'd say, the Hitler philosophy, when you give all control in the hand of one guy, especially the bad guy, no matter it's good or bad guy, whatever, what will happen? When you have poor governance, it actually reduces the life of the charity. Because ultimately what will happen? Either the fraud, or maybe there is no succession planning because you have given everything on one guy. When he dies or when he leaves the organization, it's like the captain of the ship has gone and no one is trained. There is no succession planning and all that. So that's what they're talking about. Financial mismanagement and the general perception of some charities are run more like clubs for old school friends. Same thing happened here. So old friend of, see, when we were looking at their attachment, it says that lady was the old friend of Dana, that lady was the old friend of this, was 73 years, 83 years. It's old school friends with board of trustees being out of touch and unskilled for the modern world in which they operate. Okay, they think about this old thing, old school. They don't care about what the environment is changing and all that. Okay, that's why we have this requirement, the CPD and all. These are all important points. Some of the major, and sometimes the age also. Sometimes the age also. When you say that we'll be bringing a change in the country, in the city, you need to have energetic mayor, energetic government, energetic, governor, energetic president. And for that energy, you need to have trained guy, experienced guy, and young guy with full of energy. How can you expect like someone is 85 and no matter he has experience or what, but he's 85 and the whole cabinet is people of old school boys. Okay, they don't have that much energy, and that's natural. Okay, so there should be some sort of success. That's what is they're talking about. Some of the major problems charity in recent times have been poor strategic direction. I just said poor strategic direction. Their objectives, the objective they set of their management board and all that, and the whole cabinet, it's different. Whereas the stakeholder requirement or the mission statement or the requirement of the environment is totally different, total dysfunctional. Strategic direction driven largely by charities being led and managed by board which seem to lack of awareness. They have no idea what is going on in the market. And then led firmly at the door of the trustees, those people tasked with setting the charities strategic objectives in a modern world where charities are facing similar commercial pressure. Before starting this case, I just said, okay. In a presentation to Gieland's charity leaders this week, the Charity Commission Chairman Leif XYZ said that the decline of the charity sector overall was a wake-up call for everyone who runs a charity, including BCO. Absolutely. He said poor fundraising practices, poor management, and weak out-of-touch leadership have all combined to reduce public confidence in the charity. Obviously, if public confidence go down, they're not going to provide you the funds. They're not going to visit your wild park. So you won't have your income, you won't have your legacies, you won't have your donation. Simple. No corporate donation, no individual donation, no legacies, no people are visiting, and ultimately it will be collapse because you have that one source of income major which is coming from that. And government, they can't provide you that much because overall, when you talk about the reality, governments are already, because when there is a recession, it's not only the businesses and the employees in the public face, it's the government who also face, because when demand goes down, ultimately when there is no activity, obviously the government affects in sales tax, in income tax. The government has to provide you all that stimulus check, okay? And ultimately the inflation goes up because when they provide you stimulus check, they have to print the fiat currency. Morton said the public wants to see charities account better. Sorry, Morton said the public wants to see charities account better for how, now they're talking about the audit. Whatever the funds we're providing you, we don't want you to cook the books. We want true and fair presentation and properly audited accounts. They spend their money and the charities are making a positive difference to their causes. However, the damage done to the sector by these examples of bad practices must be balanced by the vast amount of energy, commitment, and hard work put in by most charities. It was actually about the whole sector, okay? Good and bad, all these things, but it just that it's a wake-up call, okay? So that's the end of question paper. Okay, I said it's an easy paper. It was an easy paper. Reason, no technical jargon, no difficulties, simple about environmental analysis, risk management, corporate governance, simple principal agency. I see financial and non-financial performance evaluation, that's F9. So things are very easy. But when we're writing the answer, when we're talking about the answer in the next two meetings, we'll see that yes, it is different and it is difficult due to its nature. Okay? So when you'll be writing, you'll have to be very careful. So we'll be discussing each and every requirement in our next meeting. And that's it. I'm writing my WhatsApp number. If you have any message or anything, just, the code is +1, that's the US code, 951 380 6341. Let me see myself. Right. Okay. Here is my WhatsApp. So you can always message me if you have any Any quick question, any quick thing, just let me know. Or if you're looking for complete course with crystal clear concept and all that, same number, same thing. And just that's it. I'll see you in the next meeting with the answer. And you have a great day now. Thank you. Bye.